In the day's other news, the Trump administration announced its toughest sanctions yet on North Korea in its latest effort to crack down on the country's illegal maritime trade. These target one individual, 27 entities, and 28 vessels that the U.S. says North Korea is using to evade international law. U.S. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin said the economic sanctions will have a serious impact.
Our actions are part of the ongoing maximum economic pressure campaign to cut off sources of revenue that this regime derives from UN and U.S. prohibitive trade to fund its nuclear and ballistic missile programs.
Mnuchin said the U.S. has imposed a total of more than 450 sanctions against North Korea, half of them in the past year alone. President Trump said today that his son-in-law, Jared Kushner's security clearance is in the hands of the White House Chief of Staff, John Kelly, and he said he has no doubt that he will make the right choice. Kushner has been working as a senior advisor to the president on an interim clearance for over a year. Kelly had said that he would decide whether Kushner can keep that clearance by today. In Syria, a week of regime airstrikes on rebel-held suburbs east of Damascus have now left more than 460 people dead. Rescuers frantically pulled the injured from the rubble as Syrian regime warplanes pounded the region for a sixth day. A spokeswoman for the United Nations envoy to Syria called for a ceasefire as members of the UN Security Council struggle to agree on the terms.
That the humanitarian situation of the civilians in eastern Ghouta is appalling, and therefore we are in urgent need for a ceasefire that stops both the horrific heavy bombardment of eastern Ghouta and the indiscriminate mortar shelling on Damascus.
The UN Security Council then delayed a vote on the Syrian ceasefire until tomorrow afternoon. There's more trouble in Myanmar as human rights groups say the government has razed at least 55 former Rohingya villages. These satellite images show some of the bulldozed villages which had been set on fire after hundreds of thousands of the Rohingya Muslim minority were forced from their homes in August. Human Rights Watch warned that Myanmar could be trying to destroy evidence of atrocities. The U.S. Embassy in Israel will officially move to Jerusalem this May, in a timing that coincides with Israel's 70th anniversary. That is earlier than expected. For the move, President Trump announced last December. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu lauded the announcement, but a spokesperson for Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas called it, quote, an unacceptable step that will be an obstacle to any effort to create peace in the region. President Trump's son did not give the foreign policy speech he was scheduled to deliver today while promoting Trump-branded properties in India. Donald Trump Jr., who helps to run the family's real estate business, had faced a wave of criticism for mixing private business interests with U.S. foreign policy. Instead, he participated in a question and answer session at a summit in New Delhi and lamented his father's promise that the company won't take on any new deals while he's in office.
It is a big sacrifice because a big part of my life to say, hey, I'm going to take 8 years. I'm 40. Let's call it 23% of my life, and just we're not going to do anything. It is difficult and it's tough as a businessman, but again, fully understandable in time when we're out of politics. I think we'll get some credit for it and we'll be welcomed again with open arms.
Donald Trump Jr. insisted that claims that he's using his father's presidency to sell luxury apartments are, quote, nonsense. A woman is in custody after striking a security barrier near the White House late this afternoon. The driver rammed the barrier with her white van, but did not breach it. The White House was temporarily put on lockdown. The Secret Service said that she was immediately apprehended and that no injuries were reported. In West Virginia, all the public schools were closed for a second day amid a statewide teachers' strike. Thousands of educators joined the picket lines to demand better pay and benefits for teachers who are among the lowest paid in the country. They have been demonstrating in all 55 counties since yesterday, even though such strikes are illegal there.
I have a son who is in college. I have a daughter who will be in college next year, and they will not stay in this state. So it's about our students and staying here. We have to make sure that we have something to offer them, and we don't right now.
West Virginia's Republican Governor Jim Justice approved a 2% pay raise for teachers this year, but the educators insist that is still not enough. Stocks soared on Wall Street today, boosted by gains in the technology and banking sectors. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rallied more than 347 points to close at just under 25,310. The Nasdaq rose 127 points, and the S&P 500 added 43. For the week, both the Dow and the S&P 500 rose a fraction of a percent. The Nasdaq gained more than 1%. And at the Winter Olympics, Russia won its first gold medal of the Games. It went to 15-year-old figure skater Alina Zagitova in the women's free skate. Her teammate Evgenia Medvedeva took silver. Separately, a second Russian athlete at the Games, a female bobsledder, has now tested positive for doping.